Hey, is this Dave Timnick?
Sure is. How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I can't complain.
Good. Well, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm new to the whole Intronaut world.
Oh, cool, man. Welcome. We've been expecting you.
Yeah, right? Every time I see the band name Intronaut, I just naturally think astronaut. Is there any tie-in with the whole knot part of it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it, not that we take ourselves super duper seriously as far as our band name goes, but it really is, like if an astronaut explores astral space, an intronaut would explore inner space. So it really is kind of like supposed to be, an inward searching astronaut.
Cool. And something else I think of too, actually even more so than astronaut, is the Black Sabbath song Supernaut.
Yeah. It's basically a combination of, those two things. It's very good observation. We were just kind of tossing names out, a long time ago, and it was, everyone liked the idea of something to do with inward traveling, introspection, self-discovery, whatever. And somehow the idea of an astronaut but an intronaut, and immediately it was and Sabbath, some people will get that. So kudos for for getting that one. It's always nice when people get the Sabbath reference too.
Absolutely. So as I was going through looking up, you guys and research and everything, it seems like you guys have been around for a little while, and the one thing that just kept popping up and everything was finding is you're touring, you're recording, you're writing music. You're touring, recording, writing music. And it was over and over, the cycle over and over. It was do these guys ever get a break?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean that's basically how we do it. I mean, we from the very beginning, even when touring for us really was just sleeping on kitchen floors, playing for 11 people. Eight of those people were the two other bands.
Right.
So always it really has been from the beginning is we spend a lot of time together when we're writing. Everybody's writing ideas on their own, but also bringing them to the table where we all kind of by the time everyone's got their hands on it, it ends up being its own thing. But we just spend a lot of time together. We write, then we want to record. And as soon as an album's done, then it's time to tour. I mean, the whole reason for us anyway, the whole purpose of recording an album is as serve as almost like a substitute, if you will, for the real thing. It's you listen to the record, you like the music, that's great, but it's always been about the live performance where you can actually be right there and connect with the music. So that's always been the main thing for us from the beginning. So as soon as an album is done, all our excitement and all our focus is channeled towards getting out there and playing it. So we've been fortunate over the last several years to just have the opportunity to continue to tour, because there's probably plenty of people that want to tour, but at a certain point, we did lots of touring before anyone had ever heard of us. But at a certain point, unless you're just hell bent on, losing money, sleeping on kitchen floors, and playing for 11 people forever, eventually, people have to want to hear enough of what you're doing to help you perpetuate that cycle of writing, recording, touring. But as long as we can do it, that's what we're going to do because that's what we love.
Do you mention the sleeping on people's kitchen floors and stuff like that? Do you ever think back and be I can't believe I really did that?
Well, let me be perfectly honest with you. We're not so far past sleeping on kitchen floors, even as where we're at now. I mean, I was just telling someone earlier today that was wow, but I mean, you guys toured with Tool, you guys did all this stuff, so you guys must be doing pretty well, tour buses, money, chicks, whatever. Like, none of those things are true. You know, we're just one step past sleeping on kitchen floors. Like, now, you know, maybe we're sleeping on couches instead. I mean, we get more and more. We get hotels, or rather motels, I would say. But that was like one of the biggest jumps in luxury for us, was after kitchen floors was just, you know, I mean, we toured a lot, so we ended up making friends, you know, in several different places. And sometimes, you know, someone would be like a fan and be like, listen, I'm a big fan, like, you guys can come stay at my place. And we've had all kinds of some of the most, you know, wild, you know, unpredictable, frightening, terrifying even at times experiences with just kind of being like, yeah, okay, cool, you got a place for us to stay, we'll go. Sometimes it's like, you know, walking into paradise, you know, wow, this is incredible. Sometimes it's, you know, the very opposite. So we still will stay with friends when we're places where we have like friends, you know, but one of the biggest leaps forward as a band was when we were able to finally just get to a point where we could afford to say no to offers of hospitality that, you know, seemed suspect in any way. And honestly, we sometimes we still will, because, you know, like, you can't put a price on stories, you know, and we've got a lot of them, you know.
I can imagine.
So even now, like, you know, we made some weird friends by taking some of those chances. Like, we had this couple that we're friends with now. They're like in their late 40s, early 50s, husband and wife, real strange, and they get pretty drunk, so it makes them even weirder. But they're like metalheads. They just go to metal shows together, and they were at one of our shows many years ago, and we're like, hey, we have a house, like, it's about town, it's like kind of in the middle of nowhere, but we got a pool, you know, and like we have acres of land, and you know, we got a bunch of weed, but, and you know, all those things sound great, but it seemed like, oh no, these guys are fucking serial killers for sure.
Right.
But you know, we'd all had a couple of drinks, and we're like, you know what, like, you know, let's see what happens. Maybe they have a cool house with a pool and a lot of weed, and you know, let's just stay on our toes and be ready to, you know, fight to the death or whatever. But they ended up being really cool, and it was a really nice house, and it had a pool, and they had a bunch of weed, and we hung out, and we stay with them every time we're there. It's Florida now. But you know, bringing it up back around full circle, you know, we're just past just sleeping on floors or anything, even though our attendance at our shows is much better than it has been in the past. We, you know, on an average night, you can find us at your local Motel 6 and or Super 8 motel, depending on which one is cheaper in that particular city.
Now, how about like a buddy of mine? We played in a band together for 16 years, and when we broke up, he started playing in other bands. And one of these bands, they did like a tour, like 2-3 week tours, like 3-4 times. And he would call me from the road, and I mean, he would be like, dude, we have no money, I'm dumpster diving for food, we're scrapping metal, and like, we're loading up the van with metal and cashing it in to get money for gas. I'm like, hearing these stories, I'm just like, no, like, that's not, no. Just staying at people's houses, I'm just like, no, that's nothing like you would picture, but that's what you guys go through, especially in the early days.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's real life, you know, like, I think we've maybe never had to like get metal and sell it. You know? That's probably other than that, we've done all that other stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. We've been super fortunate. You know, even if it all ended tomorrow, you know, like no money, no nothing. You know, like we have gotten to do some things that are pretty remarkable, just as, you know, and things that bands don't normally get opportunities to do. And, you know, like, so for us, when people, you know, it's very common these days, everyone bitches and moans about like, oh, the music industry and, you know, like Spotify and iTunes and whatever, oh, it's just ruining artists, there's no more good this and that. And there's bits of truth and reality in those complaints, but for me personally, I feel like they're more bullshit than anything, because yeah, like, things are always going to change. It wasn't like artists, you know, didn't get fucked over and had it made in the shade before iTunes and Spotify came around. It's just someone else was stealing your money. You know, it didn't matter. It's supposed to be about the art. So you know, we got to go to India, and I remember I was talking to Justin from Tool, who's become a really good friend of mine. Another dream come true right there. We get to tour with Tool. But I was hanging out with Justin, and he was telling me, like, oh, you got to get your music off of iTunes, you know, sound quality, this and that. And this was several years ago, before there was a lot more options, too. But then we went to India. We played in India for, like, there was, like, 3,000, 4,000 to 5,000 people at the couple shows we played, and they were, like, calling us by name. And it was like, I mean, we felt like fucking rock stars when we were there. Wow. And it wasn't because all those people bought our album at their local Amoeba Music, you know. It's, you know, the exposure that you can get has allowed us to, you know, even though it's tough out there, and, you know, like, you go dumpster diving, you got to get out there, scrap metal and sell it for money. But if your music is out there, you don't need some guy in a suit at a label determining if anyone's ever going to hear it. You know, like, there's ways for people to hear it, and if people like it, there will be a demand for you to play, to perform, or to at least create more music at the least. So, you know, we've gotten to do some things just based solely on our music being out there. You know, we didn't get any of these opportunities, like the India thing, the Tool thing, like Mastodon, Meshuggah. All of these great tours that we've got to do had nothing to do with, like, our album sales and our label guy, you know, networking through the, like, you know, and it makes sense on paper. Those were all those bands hearing about us, or like us meeting them, or common friends or whatever, and our name is getting brought up, being like, you know what, like, let's see if those guys are down to come out. And of course we are, you know. So we've been lucky that, you know, we've had good things come our way by just keeping our heads down and focusing on what we do. But not every band is that fortunate, and it has nothing to do with being good or not being good. There's so many bands out there that if enough people heard them, they would probably blow up. But sometimes, you know, it's just right place, right time. Not everybody is going to hear everything, which is kind of scary about the whole thing, but also kind of exciting. You know, you never know what's going to happen. Absolutely.
Now, the new album, it's called The Direction of the Last Things.
Yeah.
Is getting ready. It comes out. When is that?
November 13th is when the album is released. We got one more song that's going to be released, you know, streaming or whatever, just like Fast Worms was. One more song, Digital Gerrymandering, will be, I think, later this week. I'm not sure. I couldn't give you the exact date, but I think this Friday or somewhere thereabouts. So we'll have one more song to listen to for anyone that's interested, and then the album comes out internationally November 13th.
Nice. Well, this has to be the part now where, like, you guys are, like, dying with anticipation to be able to share the new music and be able to play the new tunes live.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait. I mean, you know, it's what it's all for. You know, this, and we've never been so. In the past, we've had albums where we record and then we're excited to go on tour, but, like, sometimes it takes, like, a few shows, maybe even a tour or two, to really kind of start to own the new material, because it's like you wrote it, you recorded it, but you haven't, like, performed it, you know, night after night after night yet. But this time around, because we recorded this album, we tracked it live in 4 days. So we weren't in the studio, like, piecing it together. You know, there was no real editing done. I mean, we recorded the entire album in 4 days, the actual recording process itself.
Nice. So
in order to do that, and we did that for two reasons. One, because we're all a little bit, you know, not into the constant trend and direction of rock and roll or metal or even just music in general, production, where everything, somehow the desired goal has ended up being perfection in some way. Like, everything is set to a grid and quantized and auto-tuned and cleaned up. And it was never like, I can't put my finger on when that started. But, like, you know, bands have always spent money and time and recording and everything, but it never used to be about, you know, fixing everything so much that it doesn't even sound real anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And so for us, I don't think we were necessarily in danger of that to begin with, but we just thought like, hey, like how cool would it be if we just, it's almost kind of like a very subtle and respectful middle finger to the idea of just like making an album that sounds better than you sound, you know, which is kind of like what bands do these days. And the other reason was because it freed up more money to spend on proper mixing and whatnot. And we got Devin Townsend, which is one of the reasons that the album sounds so good, at least in our opinion, like sonically.
Cool.
But so in order to track those songs live, we rehearsed them like fucking crazy before we recorded. So we're ready to go.
Nice.
We're you know, and getting these two, we got 2 shows with Mastodon randomly that they just asked us at the last minute to play with them in Sacramento and in Chico coming up in this next week and a half, which would be right before we go out on tour. So that's going to be fun. And we're just ready to go for that too. So, you know, it'll be really nice to get back out on stage and do what we do.
Absolutely. Now, every band when they're putting out a new album, they always say this is the best, the best music we've written. This is, the best we've ever sounded. But I saw that you guys went even like a step further, and I love this. And this is a quote that I read. It says, "Our most technical, brutal, catchy, and straight up fearless."
Yeah.
You can't say much more than that.
That's it. Yeah, I think that sounds like a Sasha Dunable quote for sure. I mean, yeah, we, and also it's, we're always we always like to dance around the line of like, are we like actually taking ourselves seriously, or are we just having a laugh? And it's, the truth is usually somewhere right in the middle there. But yeah, I mean, it is. Of course we think it's the best record we've ever done. If you ever make a record or any piece of music, and first of all, you don't really need to like compare it. I feel like I'll always think that the new thing is the best because it's the new thing, but and you like to think that you get better and evolve as a musician, as an artist, whatever. So yeah, for sure. Like if you made a record and we're like, yeah, like this one's good, but like I think I like the last one better. It's like you're already in trouble. Even if everybody else liked the last one better, like you're not supposed to feel that way. But yeah, I mean, we really, just based on the way we write music and the way we approach music, that fearless really is a good word to use, I guess, for that, because we just have gotten more and more comfortable and confident that if we just do whatever we want to do, when people ask us like, oh, why was the decision made to start doing clean vocals? And then after that it was, why was the decision made to not have any screaming at all? And then it was, why is the decision made to bring screaming back, or whatever it is? And we haven't had like boardroom meetings about any of these things. We just do whatever we want when it feels like the right thing to do, or we don't do something if it doesn't feel like the right thing. And we've been able to, that's been successful enough of a recipe for us where we just continue to be like, okay, well, and lots of people tell us, if you guys like did a little bit more of this, you'd be way more successful. Or like the flip side would be people be like, you know what, you can't do so much of this because it's too like, it's too catchy or poppy, or it's like too pretty or whatever it is. Everyone's gonna have a criticism for everything.
Sure.
I'm not leaving. Everyone's gonna have a criticism for everything. So it's really just the fact that we're just going to keep doing exactly what we want to do the way we want to do it allows us the freedom of continuing to like take chances, and then when people respond positively to them, it just helps reinforce the idea that we can keep doing that. So yeah.
Now, something else you guys did with this, which I guess kind of must be like taking a chance, because you stated you guys are hitting Motel 6s and Super 8s, and I know it's not cheap to do this, but you guys did a bunch of limited edition vinyl for this album as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, because people buying physical copies of albums right now is so, I don't need to tell you or anyone that like, it just doesn't really work like that. I mean, even people that understand and respect the whole idea behind buying an album supporting the band, this and that. The reality of it is that people don't listen to music on CD players or on vinyls that much these days. And even if they get a CD, they're just going to burn it onto their their iPod or their smartphone, whatever their music library is. So. Right. So for us, honestly, I see in the very not too distant future, CDs not really being a thing that you necessarily are even going to be, pressing, because people that want a physical copy these days, at least like in our experience with our fans and what we do, people want the physical copy because they want the artwork, they want the lyrics, they want everything that would be a reason to make a physical copy in the first place, when it's not necessary in order for people to listen to or hear your music, or even that common these days. So it's like it used to be, you had to make the album interesting in some way, because in addition to the music, but like there was no one without the other. Like that's how you got the music. So it's like here. Right. This goes with the music, but now people can just get the music. So in order to do a physical copy that's worth a damn, at least for us, it's like, let's make this shit cool, so that anyone that wants, that still wants it, it'll be something worth having, So we put a lot of importance on the album art, the lyrics. This particular one's got like a 3D poster that folds out, which I think is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Like you walk into someone's room and you see a band poster. Normally, like that's where it ends. You're like, oh, like cool band poster, or shitty band poster. But this would be like anyone that buys this and puts it up. It'll be this poster in your room, and it looks kind of like dumb and wrong. Like blurry or something, and then hanging next to it is a pair of 3D glasses, which are included. And so in order to even appreciate the poster, you got to put on these silly glasses, but then the poster's way cool. So, it's just, it's not much, but it's something, it's the least we can do.
It's definitely cool. Now, I had never heard anybody say that. I mean, it almost kind of sounds like you think maybe the future, which we all know is going to be like a completely digital world, basically, but you think it's going to be like switching back to vinyl for physical copies, but having that, because everybody uses digital anyway, but that you think it's going to be like going back to vinyl almost.
Yeah, sort of, although, like a lot of people will really you'll always have the kind of like audiophiles or self-proclaimed audiophiles anyway that, will listen to music. I mean, I don't see the way people listen to vinyl. I don't see that being the case with CDs. No one's going to be like, oh, like my CD collection. Like CDs are just going to go away. But vinyl, there'll always be people that want the vinyl and will actually listen on vinyl. And then there's people that just like collect vinyl to collect vinyl. But that's one thing. But for us, I just feel like people will probably buy some vinyl to listen to it, but I think that really it becomes a way to have, the physical copy for everything that's cool about it. But most people that get that, they're not going to be listening to their music mostly on vinyl anyway. Like, you're listening to music in your car. Vinyl, if you're at home and you got like a listening room, then yeah, for sure. But most people don't have that. So yeah, I really think that people will just have the vinyl. It's almost like the marker of your, the token of like the music that you're listening to or that you like. But like then you have a portable and much more flexible way of listening to that music anywhere you go. So yeah, none of us have ever really been like active in the fight about like we gotta stop this, like digital stuff and like people sharing music. It's like, dude, share the shit out of music, get into it. It's fucking music.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, call me old fashioned.
Now, is this the first time you guys have done vinyl, or?
No, we've had vinyl on every record.
Oh, cool.
And every time we try to make it a little more interesting. I feel like we've always been pretty good about artwork. You know, we've always had good artists. And the guy doing this one, Ryan Wade, is actually the guy that did the Prehistoricisms art, you know, several albums ago. So yeah, we've done vinyl on every record, and you know, always try. This is the first one that has a 3D poster though, so that's worth the price of admission alone, I think.
There you go. You're turning it up a notch now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. By the next one, who knows? Like, we might just have a hologram come out. You know, shake your hand.
You never know. Yeah. Right. All right. So the new album is called "The Direction of the Last Things." Comes out November 13th, and you said there's a song probably coming out this Friday.
Mhm.
And there's a song already out now, streaming.
Yeah, there's a song out already, Fast Worms, which is the first track off the record. Find it anywhere online right now. Awesome.
And I guess, actually, you guys are hitting the road, what, in November?
Yeah, no, we leave November 10th or 11th, and we got a couple shows with Mastodon before then, but that's when we leave for proper tour.
Nice. Yeah, you guys roll in Philly here on December 13th.
Yep, that sounds right.
Now, in the Philadelphia area, is there any people you have here that you used to stay with?
Yeah, we've done a few different things in Philadelphia. The most interesting and notable would probably be, while keeping names out of it and remaining completely anonymous, one of us in Intronaut had a lady friend for a while in the Philadelphia area, and we would stay with her, but she not even like a girlfriend, but just kind of like a lady friend, like when in Philadelphia. And it was great for them, I guess, for those two, whoever they may or may not have been. But this chick was like, she worked as like a dominatrix, and like there was some weird shit going on in that house, no doubt. So, you know, like, again, like, now when we stay with people, like, it's only with just, like, someone that we know and is cool. Like, we got a buddy, Dean, who's, like, just outside of Philly, but he's got, like, a house with a man cave and, you know, beers and comfy places to sleep, and he's our kind of dude.
Nice. That's funny. Yeah. Leave it to Philly, right?
Yeah. Either that or the Motel 6 or Super 8, you know, by the freeway on the way in or out of town.
That's funny. All right. Anything else you want to throw out there, Dave, that I might have missed?
No. Buy our album. Come to our shows.
There you go. And especially at the shows, buy the merchandise, because that's will help keep the guys, have gas in the tank, and keep going back to the Motel 6.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got to get back to the Motel 6 so we can get that good 3 hours of sleep before we wake up and do it all over again. Absolutely.
Nice. Dave, I want to thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. Good luck with the new album. Good luck on the road. Stay away from the dominatrix. And yeah.
No promises on that last one, but we'll see what happens. We'll have
cool, and hopefully I'll try to make it out to the Philly show.
Yeah, excellent, man. Look forward to hopefully meeting you.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. Bye.